Hello, listener, and welcome to Book 4, Chapter 19 of Bite-Sized Tales, the audio flash fiction podcast. In today's chapter, we conclude the Direwald Diaries, the Maevis Matter, with Part 7, written and read by Chris Hussey. In our previous entry, taking the advice of the enigmatic and mysterious Madam K, Maevis and Eli began their journey to take the young girl home to a mansion on the hill where Maevis's mother is believed to be a demonspawn beast known as a Botiskin. The pair began the lonely trek, with Eli doing his best to calm the nerves of the child. Upon reaching the house, Eli took care to approach in darkness, ignoring the lit path to the door. As storm clouds gathered in the west, replacing the setting sun, the door to the mansion opened. Eli smiled at the form in the doorway. "Evening, ma'am. My name's Eli, and I'm looking for—" The woman in the doorway cut him off with a wave of her hand. Looking past the gunslinger, she rushed toward Maevis. Her hands began to touch and fuss over the girl. "Young Miss Maevis, where in the hills of McGillicuddy have you been? Your mother has been worried sick." Maevis retreated out of her immediate grasp and held up her hands. "I am fine, Miss Giovanna. I decided to walk in the city. When I got lost, Mr. Eli was kind enough to escort me back home." Giovanna acknowledged Eli, her expression of worry over Maevis turning to one of disgust over Eli's rugged and dirty appearance. "Oh my," she uttered. Turning back to Maevis, fear in her eyes, she whispered, "Did he hurt you?" Maevis became angry. "Miss Giovanna, no. He's been a gentleman, and I have invited him in to meet Mother." She paused, considering her words. "And to have a drink." Eli chuckled, seeing the lie she was constructing, and picked up the effort. Yes, ma'am. The Yonker promised me a drink. She said you had some fine whiskey." He removed his hat and adopted a sheepish expression. "I'm not looking for money or anything, just maybe a sip or two." Maevis backed his play, adding a determined smile while moving past the maid and into the home. "This way, Mr. Eli." Without turning, Maevis continued, "Miss Giovanna, will you fetch Mother? I miss her, and want her to meet the man who helped me." Giovanna looked back and forth between the pair that stood in the foyer of the home. Realizing there was little to fear or that anything else could be done, she scuttled off. Eli looked down at the girl, giving her a smile and a wink. "Nice work, Yonker." Letting out a nervous giggle, "I have to pee," was all she could say. Eli's chest heaved as he let out a large belly laugh at her response. As his chuckling died down, he looked at her eyes, which were alive with their own laughter. "Well, you'd best take care of that call from nature. I'll be sure to stay put." Maevis ran off in the opposite direction of Giovanna as a crack of thunder sounded above the home. The storm had arrived. The pit-pat of the heavy raindrops began, quickly followed by the rapid and heavy percussion as the precipitation chorus began. The gunslinger moved out of the foyer and into the lounge to his right. He found himself caught up in paintings resting upon the walls, along with the abstract but strangely erotic sculptures resting upon pillars of varying heights. Though the representation of two or more bodies wasn't blatantly obvious in the curves, twists, and turns, the suggestion and implication as to what was occurring wasn't lost to the observant eye. Eli spoke to himself as he studied a particularly contorted sculpture, noting the placement of the arms, legs, and where the three figures connected. "Huh, I never thought about doing it like that before." "You're enjoying the art," came the voice from somewhere behind. Eli whirled, surprised. His hand went immediately for his gun, clutching the grip, but stopping just short of drawing. The tall woman standing before Eli presented an air of respectability. Deep maroon velvet covered her arms, chest, and neck, with a white-laced collar ringing the top of the neckline that was mirrored at the bottom of the shirtwaist. Her skirt was similarly colored, with faded gold lace accents. While her hips were obvious and accented, Eli guessed only a slight bustle. The skirt brushed the floor, so the gunslinger could only guess at her footwear, but it was a sure bet they were ankle boots with some sort of heel. Around her concealed neck was draped a silver chain with a closed, diamond-shaped pendant hanging at the bottom. Clearly this was Maevis's mother. Eli opened his mouth to speak, then a sharp twinge gripped his stomach. Realization slapped him in the face as it dawned on him that he didn't know her name. The woman chuckled. Yes, I'm Maevis's mother. She extended a hand toward Eli. He gently clasped in response, giving a small bow. Gwen Lamashti, it is a pleasure, and I owe you a great debt for returning my daughter. Eli smiled and raised an eyebrow. Lamashti? Now that's a unique name. It was Gwen's turn to smile as she retreated her hand. Yes, both my late husband and I are from overseas, in the southwest region of Azir, though, truth be told, he nor I were originally from the region, but took up residence when our families immigrated to those lands. Gwen waved the discussion away and moved to a cabinet set against a far wall. Lightning flashed bright outside, followed immediately by a violent crack of thunder. The storm was directly overhead. The flames in the oil-fed lamps lining the walls seemed to flicker in and out with the flash. "Oh my!" Gwen exclaimed as she opened the cabinet and looked back toward Eli. "I do believe Giovanna mentioned something about a drink." She produced a decanter and 2 glasses. Eli looked at the whiskey swirling in the clear container, realizing that Maevis had yet to return. "Where is that yonker, anyway?" He scanned the area. "And would you like to know where I found her, or where she found me, if I am to tell the truth of it?" Gwen's eyes narrowed. "Oh, that won't be necessary, in either case." Eli felt the hairs on the back of his neck begin to rise. "And why is that?" Nervousness crept into his voice. Gwen smiled, baring her full teeth. "Because she is here safe and sound, and that is all I care about. And," she gestured toward a nearby hallway, "here she is now." Maevis stepped into the archway of the lounge. Eli smiled. "That was some pee there, yonker." Maevis giggled, returning the smile as the thunder and lightning made their presence known again. As Eli blinked away the afterimage, his smile vanished. Maevis's grin now stretched to impossible lengths, nearly touching each ear, with her lips curling above her nose and below her chin to reveal impossibly long, narrow teeth. The blue of her eyes now replaced with glossy black spheres. "Oh no, yonker, no." "She did well, did she not? Brought you right to us, just as requested." Gwen spoke matter-of-factly. "Why me?" Eli muttered, tension creeping into his voice. Gwen gave a kissing motion with her lips. "You know why." Eli shook his head, dumbfounded. "I'm afraid I do not." "Giovanna, the lights, please," Maevis's mother commanded. The housemaid responded by spider-crawling into the room through the archway. Clinging to the wall, the servant hiss-giggled while skittering to each lamp in the chamber, squelching the flame. Eli watched as each light went out, throwing Maevis and her mother into shadows. The structure of Gwen's face now contorting in its own change, her mouth and teeth expanding, boil-ridden horns protruding from her neck, and dripping leathery wings ripping the velvet of her dress as they tore free from her back. Groaning with the change, Gwen wailed and thrashed about as her new shape began to take hold. Lightning cracked again, snapping Eli out of his witness to the horror. Gwen crumpled to the floor as her transformation continued, but Maevis loped toward the gunslinger, her metamorphosis complete. Her arms, now twice as long as her body, dragged across the wood floor. Giovanna cackled as she continued her mission towards each lamp. In an instant, Eli's gun was in hand. Turning while the pistol came to bear, he took aim at the servant. Giovanna continued her laughter while she reached for the key to turn off the flame on the next lamp. The gun roared as the silver round slammed into the back of the maid. Laughter turned into wails of agony as she gripped the lamp, tearing it from the wall, with both slamming hard upon the wood floor. The lamp exploded, sending flames leaping into the curtains and nearby chair. Giovanna writhed and wailed as she righted herself on all fours, her skin blistering from the silver-induced wound. Fire licked at her skin, but the monstrous maid ignored it. Eli noted that the only similarity Giovanna bore to Gwen and Maevis was the glossy black eyes. A thrall? Eli thought to himself as he squeezed the trigger once more. The crack of the pistol preceded Giovanna's dying scream by only an instant as the second silver bullet split the beast's forehead in twain, blood and gray matter splatting hard against the now burning wall behind her. Eli barely caught his breath before he felt a pair of hands squeezing his shoulders hard. Whipping his head around, desperate to see his attacker, but deep down he knew. With the strength and force belying her size, Maevis flipped and flung the cowboy backward over her head. Eli felt a sharp pain in his back as he crashed into the pedestal of one of the many statues in the room. Lightning cracked again, filling the room with enough light for Eli to catch a glimpse of the horrific, near-complete transformation of Gwen. He knew there was little time left. As the thunder's rumble faded, Eli swore he heard another noise outside of the room. A screech and a hiss drew his attention back to Maevis. With the flames now reaching the ceiling and spreading to the other walls of the lounge, the demonic child charged, her clawed hands dragging behind. Eli raised his gun once again, only to find his hand empty. Damn it. Yonker, please! Eli pleaded as he reached for the cracked sex statue in front of him. Maevis didn't stop, instead opening her mouth even wider. Black spit dripped from the fangs as she closed. Eli felt a tear go down his cheek as he swung the sculpture. The cracked stone shattered as it connected solidly with the young girl's misshapen head, snapping it violently. Eli saw more than a few teeth break free of her mouth. Maevis screeched as she spun a full circle before landing in a motionless heap in front of the gunslinger. Oh shit, Maevis! Eli reflexively moved to check on the girl, but stopped as the full form of Gwen loomed before him. Her dress now in tatters, she stomped with purpose toward Eli. The gunslinger scrambled toward his gun, taking panicked peeks back at a fully formed Botiskin rapidly closing the distance. The glimpses of scales, stringy hair, fangs, claws, and black, bulbous eyes only spiked his fear. Clutching the pistol, Eli whirled over, pulling the trigger as fast as his fear would permit, the demonic Gwen only feet from him, the bullets merely sparking against her skin. I was really hoping that would have worked, Eli muttered in defeat. The creature pinned Eli to the floor with a large clawed hand and leaned in. The demon's pendulous breasts gently batted each of his cheeks as black spit dripped onto his forehead and cheeks from her hissing maw. You will be delectable, the Botiskin hissed, then tittered happily. Smoke from the ever-growing flames encircled the pair as Eli found himself congratulating himself on a well-lived life. Lightning cracked again, and without warning, the demon Gwen released Eli, rearing backwards. Eli blinked through the stinging smoke, realizing the flash from the lightning hadn't faded, or perhaps it wasn't lightning at all. The Botiskin turned, revealing the mechanical form of Doc standing behind it. She stood bravely against the angered demon, who lunged, clutching the ticker harshly with both hands. "Doc!" Eli coughed, watching her struggle in vain against the demon's strength. Straining, Doc spoke. "The tick vial. Break it with your stone." Eli looked at the demon's winged back. The blue-white light came from a syringe that was jammed into the beast's flesh, directly between its wings. The liquid sloshed about as it began to crush the ticker. Eli fumbled in his pockets for the skystone. Securing it, he squinted in the smoke and flames. Planting a quick kiss on the rock, he hurled it. With a blinding flash and whoop, the glass shattered, erupting the glowing liquid inside. Blue flames with the appearance of tentacles writhed madly before gripping the Botiskin. Swelling quickly, they engulfed the demon, then burst with a blast, knocking Eli to the floor. The yellow-orange flames and thick smoke quickly returned, pressing in on the gunslinger as he reached forward with his arms, desperately searching. Eli's lungs stabbed with pain with each and every cough. He was drenched as the storm continued to pour uncaringly above him. Dropping to his knees with exhaustion, he let go of the two forms he dragged from the now fully engulfed mansion. Doc was a mess. Most of her metal parts were either bent or shattered. Blood mixed with oil in the falling rain. With a pained squeak, her head turned towards the gunslinger. "Is it bad?" Eli shook his head. "It's not good, Doc." He patted her flesh shoulder gently. "How did you know?" "I told you. I had what you needed." Doc attempted to laugh, but only produced small sparks. Looking over at Maevis, Eli grimaced. The flickering light of the burning mansion hid and highlighted the damage the statue's blow had wrought. Her skull wasn't crushed, but despite the misshapen nature from her transformation, it was obvious there was a lot of damage done. "Oh, Maevis. Yonker, I'm so sorry." Eli ran a hand through his rain-soaked hair, choking back the tears. "You know what you have to do." Doc's voice cut through the rumble of thunder and crackling flames. "Your silver tagged her should be enough. She's not fully formed like her mother." Eli felt a dagger in his boot, but couldn't bring himself to reach for it. "She's just a kid, Doc. I can't do it." Lightning flashed in the distance as a new voice spoke. "I can do it." Eli looked up toward the voice, with Doc following in a similar creaking manner as her neck craned to see the source. "Who are you?" Eli asked, not even bothering to draw a weapon as a caution. The shape crouched on a large, low branch of a nearby oak, the mansion's flames only hinting as to the true form of the speaker. "Maevis is my sister." Eli saw a hint of wings rustle behind her. "Charlotte. I should kill you both, you know." Charlotte nodded. "You'd never complete that task." Eli nodded in confirmation. The patter of the lightning rain and crackling of the flaming mansion were the only sounds for several moments, before Eli spoke once again. "You'll leave Direwald and not come back?" Charlotte nodded again. "There's nothing but misery for us here now." Eli looked down at Maevis's body one final time. "You're not the only one." Author's note. This, of course, is the completion of the story. As always, I hope that you really enjoyed it. I was very happy with the ending, and I have to say, it wasn't until I was probably maybe a third of the way through this part that I actually decided that I was going to have Maevis be the way that she was. I really went back and forth on this and decided that in the end, her being in that form was truer to what I envisioned for life in Direwald to be like for so many people. It may be a boomtown, but it's not always a happy place. This was also the longest story I've written in quite some time, so I really do hope that you enjoyed it, and I was very happy how it came out. And hopefully, we'll see you all back for Book 5. Thanks. This chapter of Bite-Sized Tales has been brought to you under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 4.0 International License. Intro and outro music is Fantasy Motion by Alexander Nakarada, provided under a Creative Commons 4.0 license. If you've enjoyed what you've heard today, we greatly appreciate reviews and recommendations to your friends. For more information about our authors, visit bitesizedtales.com or follow us on Instagram at bite_size_tales. We look forward to reading to you next time.